I believe that the fires we're cast upon are the flames we shall become. I believe in a common calling where our temples pray.
Okay, this is Larry Pollock coming from Underground Performance Gym, the Hardcore Train Gym in Ventura, California. I'm here today with Jenn Aguirre, IFBB Pro, fitness coach, and we're here to talk about Crohn's disease and colitis, and this is an ailment that I've been dealing with for many years, and apparently she's been doing it most of her life as well. And I think this is something that probably is more prevalent, not only amongst bodybuilders, but the general population, but is not talked about so much because obviously for most people it's an uncomfortable situation to talk about because who wants to talk about shit? But it is part of life and a serious part of life. So we're going to try to get into some of the details, what she's gone through, what I've gone through, and I'll tell my story real briefly. Basically, when I was 19 years old, I competed in the Teenage Mr. America, and about 6 weeks later, I just randomly was shitting blood, lots of it, and I was rushed to the emergency room. They said if I didn't get there that night, that I was going to die. They put me on total TPN, total parenteral nutrition, for 6 months, where I laid in a hospital bed on high doses of IV prednisone, and while they were feeding me through a tube. And my body went from about 230 pounds all the way down to my skeleton, pretty much, which I think I probably weighed 180 something pounds at the time. And when I was there, I was in Kaiser, and they wanted to put a colostomy bag on me. And at that time, I had just competed in Team America a few months earlier. I had never heard of a colostomy bag. I didn't know what it was. They sent an old man in there. He showed me pulled his shirt up. It looked horrible. And I was like, oh, hell no. This is I don't want that. Luckily, my mother found out about a surgeon named Dr. Funkelsrud at UCLA who was doing something called a pull-through surgery. At this time, I had just colitis. And I was able to get to UCLA and get the pull-through surgery. And they removed my entire colon. And after that, it was a 2-stage surgery. But after that, I was actually pretty good. And I was competing and training all the way up until 2014. And 2014, I was opening a new gym, and we just signed a lease in the beginning of December. I had to be open January 1st. So I had 1 month to literally move in, set up the whole gym, and get open by January 1st. So I stayed up working round the clock, and I used Adderall to stay awake, and basically didn't eat well because I was working with just crews of laborers. Stayed awake and did get open on January 1st. And then 2 weeks later, we had our grand opening, and then I all of a sudden was driving back from LA and had to rush to a gas station and was shitting blood again. And then I knew something was wrong. It took them a year to diagnose me with Crohn's. After I finally saw a gastroenterologist, and he suggested that I might have Crohn's, and of course I was in denial. I'm like, oh, I don't have that. But they ran some tests, and sure enough, I did have it. So since then, they tried a few different medications on me. I started with Humira, and then it was Remicade, and now Skyrizi. But overall, I had to really learn how to eat properly. And you thought as a bodybuilder I was eating properly, but when I say eat properly for Crohn's, and that's what finally got it under control to where it is now. And Jenn, I listened to some of your videos, and one thing I mentioned is people that don't have Crohn's, they like to give advice on what you should do and what you should eat, but they have no idea what they're talking about. I have people tell me you need to eat more vegetables. Well, you don't understand. You don't deal with this. I eat vegetables. I go to the toilet immediately. Yeah. And I might be there for a while.
Yeah.
So it became a process of elimination, of just eliminating things from my diet. And like you, I'm pretty much down to meat, rice, and that's mostly what I eat for all my meals through the day. I'm able to have, I use collagen peptides with every protein meal. One thing I have found, I have a keto cereal that I could eat, but I don't eat a whole lot of it. Another thing that I found for myself was there are certain foods that I developed food allergies to. For example, I used to eat 20 egg whites for breakfast prior to having the Crohn's. Now I can't eat egg whites at all.
Me
Whey
neither.
whey protein, I I used to eat a lot of whey isolate. Once I got the Crohn's, that was off the table, except post workout, for whatever reason, I'm able to take in whey isolate and it doesn't bother me. But at any other time of the day, I can't do it. Something about right after you train, I guess your body's absorbing nutrients and stuff, so you can able to digest some things that maybe otherwise you wouldn't be able to. But I want to hear from Jen and talk about your story and where how this happened to you and what you've done to come to where you're at this point.
Okay. Well, I uh, so I have like almost a similar situation, but so I left home when I was 16. There are many triggers to Crohn's attacks. I know it's a genetic condition. My mom has IBS. I don't know if necessarily it would have escalated to where it got to if I didn't grow up the way that I did. So I left home at 16. I was on my own. I started getting sick when I was 19. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I do remember one. I was very close with my cousin, and I'm originally from New York, so I was living in New York. And my cousin came to LBAC to go to college. Came to Las Vegas to go to college. So I came out to visit her, and that was one of the first times that I started getting stomach aches a lot. So I don't know if it had to do with the fact that I was visiting her and realizing like she's not going to be here when I get back to New York. But I started getting sick every single day, like stabbing pain after everything that I ate. So she's like, you should go to the doctor when you get back home. So I did, went to my regular doctor. They're like, it's just stress. Like you live on your own, you're young, you come from some trauma. Like I've been beaten, I've been raped, I've been molested. Like I said, I left home when I was young. So he basically blew it off. So then fast forward, I'm in pain for like a year. I don't know if it wasn't really as much or as bad as it was, but I felt like it escalated the most whenever I went to go see her. So I went back the next year to go visit her again, and it was excruciating pain again. So I went back to the doctor, and finally, after blowing me off again, for like another half of a year, my doctor said, I'm going to send you to a gastroenterologist, and you're going to have a colonoscopy. So I had both a colonoscopy and an upper GI series, and that was when I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Then they put me on medication, which I was then on for 2 years, still going through whatever I was going through in my life. My cousin had moved back home, and I just allowed them. I never really like stopped getting sick. I didn't really do enough research. I was kind of wrapped up in my own crap in my life. In a relationship I really didn't want to be in, and so basically, I got to a point where I was beat up by my ex-boyfriend and by my boyfriend at the time, and that led to like serious depression, and it led to like a nervous breakdown. When I got out of the hospital, which I was in for 7 days, I said I'm dedicating my life to fixing myself and then dedicating it to fixing others. So I got certified in personal training. I got multiple certifications, pre and postnatal, older adult, youth, CPT, sports nutrition, and then I would spend all my time. I got a job at New York Sports Club, worked the front desk for a couple months, and then was out on the floor. And I spent all my time researching, reading. If I wasn't working, I was at the bookstore. Metabolic dieting, blood type dieting, all that stuff. And I basically cold turkey stopped my medication and got myself in remission with nutrition. So, there was one point where I was eating 10 meals a day, and all it was at that point was egg whites, chicken, salmon, and my only form of protein that I could digest was oatmeal. And I would have like a quarter cup, like 10 times a day. I would eat 10 times a day. Then I was able to consolidate. And you had mentioned like food allergies. They would change. So like I would eat the same way for 5 years, and then I would develop a sensitivity to something, and I would have to change it. And then 5 years again. So like, right now, I can't eat chicken. I can't eat eggs. I can't eat salmon. My only form of protein is from ground beef or steak. So I have 2 high fat meals, or ground turkey. So I have my other 3 meals are from ground turkey. And then it's either rice or potatoes or this cream of rice. And that's it. I did recently add fruit in, but as you mentioned, like about being able to digest the protein powder right after the workout, I do the protein powder after my workout, and I'm able to, not the protein powder, the fruit, and I'm able to, but this is something very new. Like I haven't had fruit in 20 years. I haven't had greens in years, because I do not digest greens. I do greens powder, and I don't even do that really every single day. I don't eat vegetables at all, but I get what I need from vitamins that I take. And then basically like in reference to bodybuilding, so that's been my experience with Chron. I'm a lifestyle coach. I do not coach bodybuilders, never have, never will. I don't care. I could invest the time to learn how to prep somebody, but I don't want to. I don't want to work with somebody for 12 weeks. I want to work with somebody for years and months, and I want to help people not be sick. That's what I've dedicated my life to. I have people that I've gotten off diabetes medication, Crohn's medication, fused spines, knee surgeries. My average client is between 35 and 60. I have a 74-year-old woman that I train on the computer in Italy. Those are the kind of people that I want to coach. Like I love the messages where they're at the doctor and their blood work is better. They're in the dressing room and they're wearing something they haven't worn in 30 years because they haven't seen that size. So fast forward to, me now. I am a coach. I moved out to California. I'm working at Sally's. Then I became a fitness manager. Met my ex-husband. We're divorced now, but I met my husband then. And we had a baby. And 2 months after I had my son, I was in better shape than before I got pregnant. And I went back to work after I was a fitness manager at the time. And people had said, you should compete. I can't believe that you literally lost 50 pounds in 2.5 months. Of course, some of that was child. So I said, okay. So I competed 8 months after I gave birth to my son, and I won first place. And then I never competed again. I didn't care about the stage at all. I only did it to motivate the clientele at Valley, show people that you could have a baby and get in shape. Fast forward, we opened up a business a year later. So a year after that, I did a show to show that you can be a business owner and have a kid and still be in shape. And then I took off for 4 years. Then I competed a little bit. Then I took off again. And then just recently, it's like, I love the process. I love working out. I love eating the foods that I eat. I always tell people, be curious as to what you're capable of. I don't believe in food cravings. I believe that you're craving something emotional. I eat for fuel. Food in the dictionary is energy. It is not love. It is not affection. So these are the things that I teach people. So I just eat to get me to the next memory. So, and that's what I teach people about. But it just so happens that the intensity I bring to the gym, gets me to be enough in shape where if I want to do a show, the shortest I've ever prepped is 6 weeks. So I can then do a show. But I don't, like when people ask me, oh my God, you're in great shape. What are you prepping for? And I'm like, nothing. They're like, but I watch you train and it's insane. Every time you're in here, you're like grinding like you're pushing for something. I go, I am. For me. Like, why does it have to be the stage? I was told by 4 doctors that I needed, 3 doctors that I needed knee surgery because I had knee problems, patella malalignment. I have a hernia disc, a high squat 300 pounds, unconventional tab, and saying that I wanted to document it. So like for me, my drive is proving people wrong, proving doctors wrong and showing that, I can be strong, I can be healthy. I'm not motivated by haters, but I'm motivated by, I guess, people telling me that I can't do something. I have Crohn's, I'll never be able to be muscular. You have a herniated disc, you'll never be able to squat or deadlift. And I'm like, you watch me. So that's my drive in the gym. And then the food is just, I'm blessed that I have Crohn's disease because it keeps me in check. I'm very motivated to not have an IV in my arm. So that's what keeps me from eating anything off planet. That's it.
So as I was saying, we have a lot in common, actually. I originally started competing to actually training, just to train. And then I started competing because I was training amongst pro bodybuilders, and it just seemed like the thing to do. And I won my first show when I was 16, and I won the USA when I was 18. So because of that, I just decided, you know, that's what I wanted to do, was to be a pro bodybuilder. But then some things happened. I got in some trouble when I was 20 years old, and actually had to go away to prison for a few years. But being there, I made the most of the situation, went to school, and continued training the entire time, even though there was no competition. And when I got out, I got a job as a marketing manager, and I still continued training. I had no intention of competing again until John Lloyd, Boston Lloyd's father, said to me one day, "Hey, there's a show that's coming up." And he kind of teased me. I was on a bike, and he said, "Hey, fat boy, you think you could be ready?" And I've never been fat in my life, but I was like, "Okay, yeah, you don't know me." So I dieted for 6-7 weeks, and I jumped into that show and started competing again. But for me, I always trained just to train, and I love to train. It's never been about competing. And as I was mentioning, they wanted to put a colostomy bag on me, and I'm like, I do heavy squats. I can't squat with a colostomy bag on me. That's not going to work. And they're like, well, but you can eat whatever you want. And I'm like, that's fine. I'll eat chicken and rice and rather train than have a colostomy bag.
Yeah.
But I've always just trained because I just love training. And the competing, I stopped competing a few years ago just because I'd pretty much done everything that I could do on stage. I wasn't going to accomplish anything more. And I didn't want to put myself through some of the things we had to do in contest prep at that point, because like I said, I've been competing for 40 years. It was enough already. But I'm still training just as hard as ever, even to this day, even though I have no intention of getting on stage or anything like that. So it's just a lifestyle, basically. And the eating, I'm so used to eating clean that it's just a normal thing for me. I don't crave pizza and hamburgers, and and people that don't have this disease, they don't seem to understand. They're like, well, don't you want to eat, whatever? And it's like, no, if I eat this hamburger or chocolate cake or whatever, I'm going to be in the restroom for 30 or 40 minutes. It's not worth it to me, to do that. So I'll just rather eat my chicken and rice.
Yeah.
And not have
people
to do.
Would ask to the show, like, what are you going to have? Are you going to have a brownie or cupcakes, or we're going to bring cookies backstage? I'm like, I'm going to have my ground turkey and rice. That's going to be like my post-show meal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There are some things that, like I found there's a keto cereal that I got at Costco. And what I do is I take chocolate collagen peptides and mix that with a little of almond milk. And I'm able to eat that. That's like my snack or my treat.
Okay.
That's as like junk food as I get. But because I don't eat a bunch of junk, that's fine for me. But
yeah.
I would say as the years have gone on, I've eliminated more and more foods just because I found that certain things digest better, and I don't want to deal with the Crohn's. So
yeah.
I'm pretty much like you. Meat and rice is pretty much what I eat all my meals throughout the day. Yeah. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm so much more curious about I actually have this pinned on my Instagram. I'm more curious to see what I'm capable of in the gym and then what I'm capable of looking like on my Friday check-in than I am as to what that cheesecake tastes like. Like, I can care less. I would much rather see what's going to happen if I stay on track with everything. Everything's measured to the gram. And then what can I do in the gym? How heavy can I lift? How is my body going to change? And what am I going to look like, the difference between weeks or whatever over the next month? So that's what I'm most curious about. I can care less what that food tastes like. And I try to teach people that.
It's interesting because just yesterday I was talking to one of my competitors. She's a bikini competitor, and she's gotten the best shape of her life right now. She's really lean. And she told me people from her work are telling her, like, aren't you tired of being like this? Don't you want to eat stuff? And she's like,
What is that?
she's like, no, I want to be like this, not like you. I actually had a doctor, an endocrinologist who's my age, tell me that people your age shouldn't look like you do. And I said, really, should I look like you do? Because he had a big fat belly and he looked like he had 1 foot in the grave. I'm like, really? I should look like you do.
It's disappointing. And I always say that when people make those kind of comments, it's not that they think that you shouldn't look like that. It's that they're not as disciplined as you are. So I say it's like a version of a hater. Like, are you sick of being like that? It's more that, you know, that person, your girl, your client, she's successful and she's standing there with somebody that probably is struggling, overweight, but can't find the discipline, the drive, to anything. So she's miserable. She's unhappy. And misery loves company. So her success is reminding that woman of her failure at trying to get to any kind of goal. And, you know, it makes her uncomfortable. So she'd rather make her uncomfortable, your client, to make herself feel uncomfortable so they can be miserable together. Like, it's unfortunate that that's what people do. And no, people at 47, I'm 47, don't normally look like me. People at your age don't normally look like you. But does that mean that I shouldn't look like this? Just because I'm in a small percentage of people that are in decent shape?
Well, I think they just really, a lot of people just don't understand.
No.
You know, they don't understand. And it's not something that we do to impress other people or to try to be something. It's like, I want to look good for myself. So when I look in the mirror, like, I like what I see. Yeah. And when I go to the gym, I want to be strong in the gym. And something you were mentioning about your injuries, I've had, let's see, herniated disc, my lower back, L4, L5 twice, rotator cuff surgery, tore my left tricep tendon, tore both cruciate tendons out of my knees when I was young playing football, tore both of my lats, God knows, different things. And I'm still training just as hard as today as ever. And it's just like, okay, yeah, this happened, and now I got to work through it and get over it. And I had a kid in my gym recently. He had something going on with his knee, not even serious. And he's like, yeah, I've been taking time off. I took like 4 months off. And I'm like, that's not going to help your knee get better, taking this time off. You need to work through it. And like I said, I've had to modify my training to some small extent over the years. But I'm still able to do everything and train just as hard as ever. And I've overcome these injuries. It's just something that you deal with, and then you work around it, work through it.
Well, I think the fact that you, just like me, and this is what I've said when I gave the example about me, I blew my back out, basically, whatever. I had a herniated disc, and then I did very unconventional style of rehab, and then was back in the gym, and then I squat 300 pounds 8 days after I got out of the hospital. You getting back after all of those surgeries, I tell people part of the reason why is, number one, our mental strength is totally different. So we believe that we're capable of more instead of just giving up because something happened with surgery. But we also eat so healthy that we're not inflamed. So we are on an anti-inflammatory plan, which means that we will recover that much quicker. So if I was eating garbage food and trying to train that way, I wouldn't have recovered. Maybe it would have taken me 2 months to squat 300 pounds, or maybe I would have never been able to. So like that also people don't understand. They have no idea how imperative it is to follow a plan that's going to help with their recovery. So they just think the world is over because I tore this or I hurt my back and now I can't work, I can't move, I'm on the couch. But how about we just start with cleansing your insides and then getting you to move better and then doing rehab style stuff and then not giving up and getting out of your own way. Like that's what I say. I want to teach people how to get out of their own way because they don't see a light. And the biggest thing is like the nutrition. So I say there's 5 components of fitness. Mindset, you have to believe that you can do it. And then nutrition, because you could train and do cardio and all those other things, but if you're not following a plan, you're not going to get there. Then training, then cardio, then recovery. So if you got all those, then that's a recipe for success.
I tore both of my calves on a leg press with 1,700 pounds, both my soleus, and I had to be hospitalized for compartment syndrome. I was in the hospital for, 3 or 4 weeks, got out, was in a wheelchair, and they really couldn't do anything for me. I had to rehab myself. And I did. And it took a full year to get back to 100%, but I did. And I was in these boots, and then, you know, for a few weeks, well, that healed, and then slowly started with like lightweight seated calf raises, and little by little, I just got the movement back and built the muscle back up. And like I said, it took a full year to rehab that completely, but I did it. And I think a lot of people probably never would have, because they would have just given up.
Right. Because it requires patience and faith that eventually, whether it's going to take 6 months, 8 months, or whatever, you're putting in the work. It's going to take a little bit of faith, but it's definitely going to take a little bit of time. It's not instant. With health and fitness, it's not instant gratification. You're not going to, and that's the reason why there's so many food, and like this is why I say I work with addicts of all kinds, drug addicts, alcoholics, and food, people that are addicted to food. So it's like you have that instant gratification when you eat or do drugs or drink. When it comes to fitness, it requires a lot more patience, because you have to follow a plan for a length of time and wait to see the results. You have to put in the work the next day, even though you don't look like a different person. Like those funny memes that are like a kid sitting there with his belly out and it's like, I ate a salad yesterday. Do I have a six pack yet? Like, it takes a lot more time, and that's the thing that people don't. They either don't have the faith, or they're instant gratification people. So they just look for the quick fix or the quick distraction, which is what the addiction is.
When I was a teenager, I blew a cruciate tendon working in a nightclub, bouncing. And the doctor told me, you will walk, but you'll never run, and you'll never lift weights again. And I was like, in my head, I was like, yeah, F you. Well, I went back to the gym myself. There was no physical therapy, nothing. I just went to myself, and my knee was swollen, so I didn't have very much range of motion, but I just started doing like partial squats, getting on the leg extension, leg curl, and doing small movements. And little by little, and within like 3 months later, I was squatting 400 pounds for reps again.
That's amazing.
So I just, got my movement back, and the tendon was already, I don't have any cruciate tendons in my knees. I've squatted 820 pounds in competition. So technically, like, if you ask a doctor, I'm not supposed to be able to do that, but I have done that. I've had MRI on my left knee, and they're like, that's the worst knee I've ever seen. But meanwhile, I go to the gym and I train like 500, 600 pound squats for reps still to this day. And I have very little knee pain. Go figure.
It's a mental thing too. I had a client probably about 12 years ago, and she was a trainer. She was following me on YouTube, because I've had my channel for like 15 years. And she would say she was following me on Facebook and on YouTube, and she would like do some of my workouts. She got into a really bad accident, motorcycle accident. Her before picture with me was 6 months prior to hiring me. She was sitting in a hospital bed. Her entire spine was fused. She had a brace on. The doctor told her, you would never be able to do a push-up. You'll never be able to run, go jogging again. You're not going to be able to be a personal trainer unless you don't demo anything. So 6 months, she laid in bed miserable and depressed. And then she said, oh my God, there's this thing right here at my fingertip. And she reached out to me and said, I want you to coach me, because if anybody's going to help me, it's going to be you. And within 5 weeks of being a client, she did a photo shoot, walking towards the camera, jogging towards the camera, doing squats, and doing the push-ups. And she was with me for 6 months. She's in Texas. I've never met her. And I still talk to her. That was 12 years ago. I still talk to her like once a year, just check in with her and see how she's doing. So we want to find a way.
I had a lady come in. She was for a potential training client, and she was walking with a walker, and she said she just wanted to lose weight and get in shape. And I said, well, what's going on with your leg? And she's like, well, my ankle is fused from a car accident. And I said, okay, well, let's see if we can work on that. She goes, oh, no. The doctor told me that there's nothing you can do. You can't fix that. And I'm like, okay, well, while we're working on the losing weight, let's just do that. So in between every single set of whatever exercise we were doing, I had her doing just calf raises, small movements with just, no weight at all initially at first. And I took a bi-star dumbbell and put it on her foot and had her doing tibialis raises with just like 2.5 pounds. 3 months later, no cane, full mobility in her ankle, and she was walking without the cane. After years of the doctor telling her, you can't do anything.
Because doctors, listen, I'm sure you might have maybe some followers on here, and I'm sure I do too, that are doctors. And I actually coached a surgeon for a really long time. And, not, most of them are so driven by, I guess, like they want to keep people sick because the sicker they are, the more money it brings to the hospital. They get commission, which I've had nurses reach out to me and they're like, you're absolutely right. I heard you talk about this in one of your YouTube videos. They get commission off prescriptions. So they don't want to tell you to go try to follow a nutrition plan. They want to write you a prescription because then they get paid. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that there's so many doctors that have told so many people that they can't do this and they can't do that. And yeah, that's what my drive is. My drive is to prove all these doctors wrong.
Well, I think a lot of it is they themselves don't work out,
right? For
the most part. I mean, some doctors do, but most of them don't. So they don't really have any idea like what's involved.
Yeah,
they're just clueless, and I think it comes to the same thing with the Crohn's. I've got gastroenterologists. I don't know how many I've gone through one after the other, and they've never been able to give me any kind of solution. The nutrition thing I had to come up with myself.
Yeah,
I had to figure that myself. The gastroenterologist didn't give me any feedback on that. Matter of fact, I told them that I eat rice, and they're like, "Oh, why do you have to eat so much rice? Like the rice is bad for me." It's like, well, when I eat rice, it digests well, and I don't go to the restroom as much because it binds you up. They just didn't understand that at all. They tried to give me Imodium, and I don't know. So my experience with Imodium is it works for like a day, and then after that, all hell breaks loose. So that doesn't work either. So the drugs really didn't work. It come down to the nutrition and the training.
Yeah.
And another thing, like I found for myself, like I think I mentioned that after training, especially like a big body part like legs or back, my body wants to suck up nutrients. So I'm able to eat, more, like I can take a whey protein shake right after a training and it doesn't bother me. If I take it on a off day, I'm going to be straight to the toilet. But right after training, I can absorb and digest that. And I actually cut out the whey protein for a couple of years, maybe more than that. And then I slowly introduced it. And something that I also figured out is like you develop food allergies. Like I mentioned with the egg whites. There was a period of time when I couldn't do beef because that was causing me to go to the restroom. And then what I finally figured out, for myself anyways, if I eat too much of one food all the time, eventually I'll develop a food allergy to it and it'll start affecting my digestion. So I kind of have to rotate things in and out. I haven't eaten egg whites for quite a while now. But because I don't eat them often, if I do eat it like one meal, it doesn't kill me.
Yeah.
But if I start eating them like multiple times a day or several days in a row, I'll start to have problems.
Yeah, I had that with salmon. So like I used to eat salmon every single day. I did it a lot. I would have it like with 2 different meals back in the day, like the high fat, all that. That was really good for me. But I developed like a food sensitivity because I would have it every single day. Same thing with chicken. I don't eat chicken anymore. But after years, I haven't had salmon. Just recently, I had sushi, but not like all the fancy sushi. I just had like a salmon roll. So it was just salmon and the rice. And I was able to have that. So I had contemplated since it's been so long to try to have a piece of salmon. But again, I don't really care that much. Why? Why change what I'm doing right now? If it works for me, I don't need to introduce something else just to introduce it. So if for some reason I develop some sensitivity to beef, then I'll try to switch over to salmon. But right now, my ground turkey and my beef is working for me. So.
And for me, it's chicken and beef for the most part.
Yeah.
I can do ground turkey as well, but I just do more chicken and beef.
Yeah.
And definitely no gluten, no dairy at all.
No.
I learned gluten for whatever reason is a killer for me.
Yeah.
So any tips that you use with your clients? I'm curious. Supplements or anything. I use a digestive enzyme, digestive gold. That really seems to help. Ox bile, I've used that. It seems to help. Of course, I take a ton of regular nutritional supplements, my fish oil, krill, and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I'm a sponsored athlete for Blackstone Labs. I've been with them. I've been using their products for about 8-9 years, and then they developed an ambassador program, and I did that, and then I was very quickly promoted. So I've been a sponsored athlete of theirs for like 6 years now. So in my clients' programs, I'll write out some of them will use creatine, glutamine definitely. They have collagen. They have a whole core series, and it's got vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D. Turmeric, the omegas. So I'll use all of those. They have a nutrient partitioner, a glycolog. So I have every one of my clients get on that. So I'll write that supplementation in the plan. Once somebody joins the program, they have to answer 25 questions. So then I decide which most of them will have the same thing. The only thing that Blackstone doesn't have that I have people get would be sometimes probiotics, sometimes. I haven't had anybody use a digestive enzyme. They have a juiced up, so it's greens. It's got phytonutrients and a whole bunch of stuff in there. And magnesium is another product that I learned about probably 10 years ago when I hired a homeopathic person to kind of get me into the whole vitamin thing. This is well before I even started competing or anything like that. Not 10 years ago, 18 years ago. So she taught me about magnesium. So that's something that I put in every one of my clients' plans. And that I just have them get on Amazon, and they have it at night. So, that's pretty much it when it comes to supplements and vitamins.
Yeah, I've experimented with different supplements over the years, and now I have a whole regimen of supplements that I use every single day, especially because we're limited on the food that we can eat. So the nutrients have to come from somewhere else. Yeah. So supplementing is super important, especially when you're eating a real basic diet. A couple things I wanted to touch on. I heard you mention about sleep. We've all heard the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing say, you don't need to sleep. You need to just work more. Okay, I'm going to call BS on that. I know that if I don't get my sleep, not only do I not recover from my training, but then I have problems with the Crohn's. Right. Sleep is so important. Yeah. And I got to get my 8 hours. And what I found is if I don't sleep, I'm spending my day dealing with Crohn's instead of being productive, versus if I get all my 8 hours of sleep, I'm way better. And I'm way more productive as well. Yeah. So that's key. There was something else I think you mentioned besides sleep. What was it? The lifestyle.
Well, I'll talk about that. My sleep is not quite the same. And when I get up every single day since 2010 when we opened up the studio, and since I started doing online coaching, I get up at 3:15 or 3:45. I've never woken up past 4 o'clock since 2010. So I do client emails. So most days I try to get to bed at 10 o'clock. I'll be honest, these past couple of months, I've been dating somebody that doesn't live here, and we stay up late talking on the phone. But if I get a nap the next day, maybe, or I get caught up, I'm good. But 6 hours is normally all that I need. If I get less than a combined 5.5 hours, then I'm a hot mess. Then I'm dealing with the same food that I'm eating, which is exactly the same every day. So that's the only thing that's not the same, is then I find that I either am a little bit more bloated, or I just feel like I'm not digesting things well. But for me, I don't really need any more than 5.5, 6 hours. I hardly, I don't know how I would ever be able to get 8 hours unless it was on a Saturday. Sometimes on Saturdays, I'll do emails from 3:45 until 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And if I don't have anything to do, I'll lay in bed and watch Netflix all day until I go to bed. And maybe I'll take a nap in the middle of the day. So then I would potentially get a combined 8 hours. But on the regular, it's 5 to 6 to me. And that's good enough. Anything less than that, and I'm sleeping.
Well, I think when I say 8 hours, I mean 8 hours. I'm going to sleep at, say, midnight and getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. But I'm up in the night, usually a couple times, going to the restroom. So probably not getting 8 hours exactly. Yeah. But I know I need to be sleeping during that period of time, or at least in bed, mostly sleeping, or I'm not really very productive the next day.
Yeah. Yep. I get it.
So that was one key, and training definitely seems to make a big difference. My digestion is better, my energy is better, and I notice when I don't train, like I said, I can't digest food as well, and I don't have as much energy.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy that you like said that, because I do notice that on my 2 rest days, like I hate my rest days because I love the gym because it's like therapy, but I also hate it because my body digests food totally different on that day. So, I mean, if I could do a little something here at my house, which wouldn't even know what I would do, then I'm sure I would feel good. But it's totally different than going in the gym and throwing weights around, and the way you breathe and the way your muscles are flexing and the blood flow and all that other stuff. So, I mean, it's totally, totally different. When I have clients that I allow to have refeeds, so like a refeed will be, I'm sure you know, like a high calorie meal, like an off-plan meal. And some coaches, because I've worked with many coaches, they will give a refeed the night before, so that they can use those calories the next day. Because I work with so many people with stomach issues, if I'm going to give somebody a refeed, I give it to them as like either their post-workout meal or on the night of, because they're going to digest that meal 10 times better. So that's the way that I do things. And yes, I do hate my rest days for that reason.
See, I'm the opposite on the rest days, because I train so hard on the days that I do train that, like, after a leg day, I'll take a rest day, and I'm so sore from training legs that I need the rest day. But
yeah, I know it's rest, but like, I know I need to recover, but it's just, the food and the missing the gym and all that other stuff. So I get it.
Yeah. I do tend to eat more on my training days than I do on my rest days, actually.
Yeah.
Except with the exceptions, like after a heavy leg day, then my body really needs food to recover.
Yeah.
So, and it seems to reset my metabolism somehow.
Yeah.
I notice, like, after training heavy legs, like different than any upper body thing, I can eat way more food with less problems, because my legs are like literally sucking up all that food.
I agree.
There was something else I heard you talk about in a video. I'm trying to think of what it was besides sleep.
The triggers?
Something lifestyle to keep your Crohn's at bay.
So, the triggers are like food sensitivities, dehydration. That's another trigger.
Dehydration. That's what I wanted to cover.
Okay.
So I don't know what your approach to dehydration is. My approach is I need to drink at least 1.5 gallons a day, and I can't get down in 1.5 gallons of plain water. So I've made this concoction. It's made out of I take 1.5 gallons and I put in there a teaspoon of this. It's a kind of a salt. It's like a Himalayan pink salt, but it has more minerals in it. So it's got more potassium and magnesium in it as well. So I put a couple teaspoons of that in there. I put a full scooper of glutamine, 10 grams of creatine monohydrate, and I have these flavoring packs that are made of stevia, so they don't have any aspartame in it. I put those in there. And they're true lime flavoring packs, and D-aspartic acid. I put 1 scoop of that into there. Yeah, and that's it. I make that up, and it's like a kind of a fruit punch thing with the electrolytes. And I put 1 emergency pack, which is a vitamin C with all the minerals. And I literally drink that morning, noon, and night all day long. I just drink that throughout the day. And on training days, like a heavy training day, I'll drink up to 2 gallons. Because if I get dehydrated, definitely has problems. So hydration is really important.
Yeah. I can't do even stevia, anything that's artificial, I can't do. So like, I don't do, even if I was going to put a little bit of flavoring in my water, like with the BCAAs from Blackstone Labs, I only do it intra-workout because my body digests it differently, the same thing with the protein powder. But the rest of the day, my water is plain. But I'm very curious, so I think I might steal this from you. I just do my glutamine and my creatine in my intra workout, and then I'll do a shot of it in the water on my days that on my rest days to get those in. But I'm curious as to like if my water would taste off if I just put those two and maybe a little bit of salt in my water without all the additional flavorings and stuff like that.
So there's a particular kind of salt. It's I can't think of the name.
Yeah.
Celtic sea salt. I get it on Amazon, and it's high in potassium and high in magnesium as well as the sodium. And for some reason, it has kind of like a sweet, different taste than regular salt.
So what is it called?
It's I think it's called Celtic sea salt. I will take a picture of it and I'll send it to you. But that makes the water taste a lot better, and because you have the nutrients. Also, I put the emergency pack in there, and that has some like a little bit of fizzy and some flavor. I'm not. There's like 2 grams of sugar in the whole thing. So if you're mixing that with like a gallon of water, that's 2 grams of sugar is not going to do anything. But it has the minerals and the vitamin C, and that flavors it a little bit as well.
I'm going to try the option.
Yeah, and I actually do put essential amino acids in my drink as well, and I just drink. Like I said, I drink that all the day. But I think the main thing is the minerals that are in the water helps it absorb.
Yeah.
And instead of just drinking plain water. I know when I was a kid, they used to have us diet on distilled water, and that's like the worst idea because distilled water flushes all the minerals out of your system.
Yep. So
yeah, it's important to have sodium in your water, not just in your food, but in the water that you drink, because that helps the water absorb into you.
Yeah.
There's no way I could get 2 gallons of plain water down, not just because it doesn't taste good, just because it's going to sit in my stomach or go straight through me. It's not going to be absorbed. So yeah, the hydration is majorly important. And that's not just for people with Crohn's. This is like all people.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that there's probably most people walk around not being 100% because they're not eating properly, they're not staying hydrated, they're not getting their sleep. But because they don't have a Crohn's, they don't have a gauge. Like we have a gauge. You know, if we don't eat properly, you don't sleep properly, we don't stay hydrated, we're in the toilet, we're getting sick.
We immediately feel it.
Right. They're probably feeling like crap and they just don't even know why.
But they don't, because they don't know potentially how good they can feel.
Right.
Like we have the comparison. That's why I say, like, sometimes I do this with clients, like they'll start my meal plan and then I won't give them a repeat. I'll tell them to go ahead and have a cheat and eat the way that you used to. And because basically I don't believe in cleanses, because I cleanse their system with good healthy food for 2 to 3 weeks and then they go and eat garbage, then they feel like crap. They have diarrhea. They have a stomachache. They can't sleep that night. And I'm like, you had no idea what you were capable of, which is what I did these past 3 weeks. So then you put that garbage back in your body that you were having the whole time that your body just thought was normal, and now it's rejecting it, which is what it's supposed to do because it's garbage. So, you know, most people have no idea about that time frame. They have no idea how great they could feel, so they have nothing to compare it to. So they think feeling like crap all day, going to the bathroom, not sleeping, dealing with stress horribly is the norm. And they have no idea that they can fix themselves.
And they don't realize that their performance could be way better in the gym and everything else in life. They don't, because they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered quite a bit of material. You were mentioning you might have some aspirations to accomplish a few things.
Okay, so almost every single time I compete, so we'll end with this. Almost every single time I compete, I say, that's it, I'm done. Like, the first time I did it, I'm done. And the second time, I'm done. Then fast forward, I hired my first coach, and then I competed for a couple of years. And then what happened was I designed a program, like my 30-day challenge that I have. I designed that program, and I said, I'm going to get on stage, get my pro card, and then launch my program. I didn't get my pro card. It was the second year. I got 4th place at nationals, and then I got 2nd place at nationals. So I said, business and my life is way more important than the stage. So I'm not going to keep trying. Like, I'm done. So that's why I shut it down. And then I didn't compete for 4 years. And I said I would never get back on stage because I don't care about the stage. Fast forward, Jay Cutler is the one that convinced me to get back on stage 2 years ago because I hired a different coach after not having a coach for 4 years. And the bulk that I went on, the way I was feeling, the way my body was changing, like I don't believe in trying to look like somebody else, but I was always very inspired by Candace Lewis Carter's physique. She's got my favorite physique. And then LaToya Watson's transformation, what her legs look like before and then what they look like when she was Miss Olympia. So those, they motivated me. And when I started to look like those women, I'm like, okay. And then I see Jay Cutler, and then Jay's like, listen, I know you don't want to be a coach, like, and we're friends. I know you don't want to be a coach for shows, but do you have any idea, like, you just being a lifestyle coach is still going to help your business if you go and get your pro card? Like, a lot of the people, and this is what I've always said, most people are looking for IFBB Pro before they look for CPT. Like, they think that they have more respect for the IFBB Pro than CPT. But meanwhile, there are so many coaches out there that don't know a lot of stuff, but they are a pro. So whatever. So I then allowed him to convince me. I'm like, okay, you know what? It will. I'll be able to market myself different, market myself better. I'm in front of more people. So I got back on stage, did the first show to requalify, and then 8 weeks later went to Masters and got my pro card. And then I shut it down. And then everybody said, are you going to do it again? You're going to retire? And I said, I'm never going to compete again. And then I had a really good conversation with a couple friends, but then the cherry on top was a conversation that I had with my guy. And we were just talking about the whole concept of aren't you curious? And he said, if competing is so easy for you, and this is what you walk around, like, aren't you curious to see, like, where you'll standing up against those now pros? Like, aren't you curious to see if this easy thing that you do every day could potentially get you on the Olympia stage? And I said, that's brilliant. So now my goal, so you're the first person to hear this besides him. My goal is I just had surgery, so I'm recovering from surgery. I'm going to go into a very slow bulk as I'm recovering, and then like massively bring the intensity starting in the beginning of October. And then I'm going to do a bulk to get me. Right now I'm sitting at 164, which I hate that, but let's not talk about it. I want to get back to 175, 177 and coast there for 3 months so that becomes my body's like set point. And then we're going to do a little mini cut and then see what I look like. And at that point, then once we do, and usually my body, because I've been bulking forever, whenever I do a little mini cut, my body will respond so fast. That's why Jay was like, are you getting ready to compete for a show? Like, I saw your cutting, because my coach and I got me to eating so many calories, and we bulked, and then we did a little cut, and within 3 weeks I was like healed and veiny, like I was about to compete in a show. So whatever, getting back to the original thing. So we're going to do a little mini cut and then say, okay, if that is February or March of next year, okay, I think that I can get you ready for a show in 6 weeks or 7 weeks or whatever. And then we're going to look at pro shows. But I'm not going to look until I hit 175 to 177 for 3 months. And then we're 2 weeks into a mini cut. That's when I'm going to decide which show. And I am getting back on stage. It's not an if, it's an am. That's it.
I think you should compete wherever you think you can be the most successful.
Yeah.
So maybe do both.
Yeah.
I've always thought about, my idea is competing is when you're ready, you'll compete.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like I'm ready, but my body is not where I want it to be. So I have to get
I'm saying physically ready, mentally ready, all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had people come in and they're like, I want to compete in 6 weeks. I'm like, good luck. You're not ready. You're not going to be ready in 6 weeks. You're 20% body fat.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. But when you're ready, you compete, you pick the show.
Yep.
But I mean, you've been coaching people, you've been doing this long enough. You know what you need to do. You know your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it will help just because, you know, having that title behind your name will, you know, gives you some recognition.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's probably a good business move as well.
Yeah.
I competed like I said, for 40 years. And I finally stopped because my reason for stopping was I realized I wasn't going to accomplish anything more than I already had.
Yeah.
So there was no point in doing it. But if you still have things that you can accomplish, I say go for it.
Yeah. That's the plan.
You know, you only live one life. Might as well make the most of it and do the best you can.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I love it. Excited.
I look forward to following you through that journey, and maybe we can document it somewhat.
I am. I'm gonna start talking about it on YouTube, and then I am gonna document the prep, and even leading up to the prep. So I'm gonna document the bulk, and then the cut, and then the prep.
So, are you going to be at Olympia this year?
I am going to. I don't know if I'm going to go to the expo. I am going to be at the Marquee Cabana on Sunday. Blackstone has a booth where I'm actually running the Blackstone booth there. Or it's not really a booth, but it's a cabana. So I'm going to be there. Me and 3 other athletes that I basically got an ambassadorship with Blackstone. So I'm going to be there. Friday, Saturday, usually I have my kids on Sunday. So because that's on Sunday, I switch. So I have my kids on Saturday. So if I go to the expo, I will probably go on Friday. And that also depends. I have a couple of people from Blackstone that are coming in town. So if they want to go to the expo, I might go over there with them. But I don't plan on actually going to the Olympia to watch the show. If I'm going to do anything, it'll just be the expo on Friday.
Yeah, I'll be there coming in Wednesday, leaving Monday.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll be there the whole time.
Okay, so maybe we'll have to just at least maybe see each other at the expo or something like that, or in the area on Friday.
Yeah, we can. I rented out Airbnb for me and some of my friends that are going. We've got like a 6-bedroom house with jacuzzis and the whole bit.
Oh, nice.
So I figured maybe that'll be a good place. We're going to shoot some content there.
Okay.
And maybe we can get another video going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
All right.
All right. Well, it was great talking to you, and I would like to stay in contact because not only for the channel, but I'm interested in learning from you, and we can exchange notes and pass on ideas and hopefully help each other improve.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in.
All right. Well,
thank you very much for having me.
I really appreciate it. And this is I think it's a unique opportunity because like I said, I think there's a lot of people dealing with Crohn's, colitis, IBD, different things, but not too many people are willing to talk about it openly.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's going to help a lot of people hearing about this.
I hope it does.
All right. Well, it's great. And I will see you at the Olympia and we'll keep in touch.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Larry Pollock from Underground Performance Gym, the hardcore training gym in Ventura, California. If you're in the area, come by and check us out. You go to our website, www.undergroundperformancegym.com. Also, we have sales on supplements there, HD Muscle, Chemex, and all powerlifting gear and so forth. All right. Have a great day, and we will be talking soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
In a common calling, where our temples pray as one. I believe in the word of wonder and a kingdom for the saved. I believe in a day of judgment for the